Hi, everybody. I am Emji Boettcher, and this is the Harry S. Truman Presidential Library and Museum right here in beautiful Independence, Missouri. Boy, they. So what we're going to do is this is a truncated version. This is a 12-minute absolute race through of this library and museum. They've got this really great mural that they painted, and this wasn't originally done when they put the museum up. It was originally, there was a picture of President Truman and President Eisenhower up on the wall, and they removed that and painted this mural, which is really intricate. And they've put all sorts of background on the mural and who painted what and why. There's also these letters. Now, Bess and Harry were super into letters. Of course, they had no other option back in the day. Phone calls were kind of prohibitively expensive before he became president. So there's lots of letters from them. And it shows the love that they had for each other genuinely comes through in the letters. So they have some of those in the lobby area, and they also show a good number of his scheduling books. Now this is his the buck stops here sign that everybody knows about, but you never see the back of it, which is interesting. And the back says, "I'm from Missouri." So thought that was kind of, fun. And this is President Truman's vice president, who honestly I'd never even heard of before I went through, but whatevs. So we have his portrait there, and then we have President Truman's portrait on the other side. Now in this is the entry gallery into the Oval Office display. And in the Oval Office display. I love this Oval Office display because this was his idea. President Roosevelt was the one who started the presidential libraries, but President Truman, this was the first building that was built as such, and so it was his idea to put in an oval replica. I don't believe this is a one-to-one size of the office. I think it's a 7/8, but you get the idea. And then they have a couple of different ways around the museum. They have a couple of different hallways. And then they've got, this was the way he entered the presidency was a shock to everybody, and the most of all Bess. And in so much that they didn't have a Bible ready for it. They had to go digging around in the usher's office to find one. And this is the Bible that they found in the drawer. So then they go into a bunch of newspaper articles. Primarily, of course, it was the war. It was the height. It was the ending of the war. And so they have the different news articles of the day. And there's a couple of words that I can't imagine would fly today, but that's okay. Different time, different place. Wartime. It's war, peacock. And I believe there's even a nice bloody picture of Himmler somewhere in one of the pictures that I saw. I used to live in Hiroshima. I lived in Nakaku. Actually, I was in Hiroshima at the 45th anniversary of the bombing in 1990. And then they go into some different displays. After the war, we had the big boom. It turned into the 50s, right? So everybody had TVs, and they had it kind of turned into a really yeah, gosh, it turned into the modern age. Is what it did, huh? Everybody had a car, everybody had suburbs. And they kind of go into that kind of thing. They kind of show little examples of what American life was like. I don't know why they have a picture of those types of, those are not his cars. His were Chryslers. That man loved his Chryslers. Every car he had, it was a Chrysler. Now, all these displays are going to be changed. I believe that they're doing the renovation this year. And then we go into the Whistlestop Campaign. When he decided to run for president in his own right, he did his Whistlestop Campaign, and very famous, and that's a very famous newspaper. And there's the paper. And it's really cool to actually see, some of these things. And then we have the Cold War, so they have a nice little, large, actually, a display about the Cold War and what that involved, and all the different books that were written about it, and how the propaganda was propagated around that time regarding the Cold War. Now, this Purple Heart is amazing. I really want everybody to take just a second, pause this, and read this, and think about what that meant to that dad. So after he left office, he did everything. His office was here at the library, and they actually have his office preserved as he left it. And that Purple Heart was found in the desk. I think that's extremely cool. So now we go out into the kind of a courtyard statue area. There's a beautiful bronze statue of President Truman. And there is an eternal flame. There's not too many of those eternal flames around, but he has one here. And I think I got a picture of it, or I got a video of it in this clip. So this is the inside, and that is the outside in the courtyard area. Now, here in the courtyard are the graves of President and Mrs. Truman, and of their daughter and her husband. Now, this is his library. This is his office, as he used it between 1953 and 1972 when he passed away. There it is. It was so cool to see it. So now we're going to take a visit over to the graves. And it's a beautiful courtyard that they've made. This isn't it. And neither is this. There it is. And President Truman is on his right, and his positions are listed, his titles, and the years that he was in those offices. And Mrs. Truman's is on the left. There's a particular type of rose that she loved. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. Talisman roses. Yes, I can. Talisman roses were her favorite. And then directly behind them is the burial spots for Margie and Clifton. Now downstairs is where they have the bulk of the displays, and they have two staircases that go downstairs. I chose the wrong one, like a dope, and I accidentally kind of recorded everything in absolute reverse. So you'll have to forgive me, but I'm going to be going back and doing another video of the library when they do the renovation on it. So maybe then I'll get it done correctly. And they have a lot of keepsakes, lots of memorabilia, and a lot of those are family ancestor pictures. They're just It's just terrific. Lots of stuff. You get a lot of insight when you go to these libraries, and you might not ever agree why they did something, but you can at least understand their viewpoint and what they, what they were building off of when they made that decision. There's his haberdashery. Now this is one of his Chryslers that he loved so much. He bought two, but he bought a coupe and he bought a sedan. He drove the coupe. This is the one that he drove. And this is his Senate desk, and I think it looks identical to LBJ's desk, which LBJ used as president, and it's in his library. So they have to have done it like a standard style of desk in the Senate workshop. And there's her hat. So while they were in the White House, Mrs. Truman really did not like doing that. She was a very private person. It was not her environment to go and do all that stuff. So most of the time she kind of hung out in Independence. She wasn't a huge Washington fan. Now here is their China. I love this China because it's got that Celadon band around there. And Celadon's one of my favorite colors. As a matter of fact, funny story about, well, I'll tell you Henrietta Nesbitt's story later. So then President Truman, he was there, and like a lot of people called him an accidental president because President Roosevelt died when he was a new vice president. But he did as well. No, those, oh damn. Well, those were two of his other cars. I got those too quick. One was a Lincoln and the other one was that a Chrysler sedan. That was the one that Mrs. Truman drove. So this was the real absolute run through. I mean, this is the fastest you'll ever go through any presidential library. And I couldn't make it any quicker. I tried. I wanted to show something. But that's it. And that's all. And that's Independence, Missouri. Thanks.